Oh, I saw it change. Okay.
Yes, based on the classic 1940 novel, the film Native Son is an Emmy contender this year that premieres on HBO on April 6th after playing at the Sundance Film Festival earlier this year. Nick Robinson and Margaret Qualley co-star in the film, and they join us today for this chat. I'm Daniel Montgomery, senior editor for Gold Derby, which pulls the predictions of experts and thousands of fans just like you watching. So first off, Nick and Margaret, how familiar were you with the original novel Native Son, if at all, before the opportunity for this film came around?
My experience with this novel was extremely limited. I had heard of it, and I kind of knew the context. I knew that James Baldwin didn't like it. I knew that there were that it was controversial, but that was pretty much all I knew about it. So my first interaction with this story was through the script. And after reading the script and meeting with Rashid, he actually advised me against reading the novel while we were making it. He just wanted to have like a fresh take, I think. So I read it afterwards, and it's a doozy. I would recommend it to anyone who wants to just feel like they've been punched in the face multiple times. It's hard to read, and so is the script. It's not a passive viewing experience at all. Yeah.
How about you, Margaret? Did you have experience with the novel before the film?
No, I had a similar experience in that I hadn't read the novel, and when I first met with Rashid, and I was like, "Hey, man, sorry, I haven't read the book yet, but I will." But then he discouraged me from doing so because he wanted to. He didn't want me to be too influenced by the character in the novel.
And what was your reactions to the script when you first read it? The script by Pulitzer Prize winner Susan Laurie Parks.
I know, geez. I mean, it's really phenomenal storytelling. I think that what's so great about Susan Laurie Parks and Rashid is that they managed to tell a story without really giving any answers. They just ask a lot of questions, which I think is really interesting.
Yeah, I had the same experience. I mean, that was like my first interaction with this story was through the script, and the script kind of blew me away. It asked a lot of really uncomfortable questions, and I think that she was able to. It was interesting reading the book afterwards because I really saw a lot of the decision making that went into it. I thought she did a great job of kind of keeping the intent of the book and the words that Richard Wright penned 60 years ago, but she was able to kind of contextualize it and make it very contemporary. So, Susan Laurie Parks is a gem.
What was most surprising about coming to the book second after the film? What was the most surprising about the book? Specifically, your characters, the way they're portrayed in the film versus the original versions of the book.
Well, I mean, there's a few like basic immediate differences. Jan in the book is a communist, and in this version, he's more. It's not really specified. I'd say that he's probably kind of like a democratic socialist. Voted for Bernie 2016, definitely. He is a politically active person. He runs a club on his campus called, I don't know if it even ended up, it was Power to it was the People's Party Movement, and something like that. And so it's this kind of vague, unspecified liberalism that I think it can kind of encompass a lot of sort of the left's like progressive ideas, but maybe not as much. It's kind of a lot of talk sometimes. And then, in terms of in terms of like who Jan is and his background. He's an example
of somebody who's a lot of talk.
No, that's right. I shouldn't generalize the left. I mean, I agree with most of it. I just think that sometimes there can be more talk than there is action, but that's not a bad thing. The point is that Jan is he is somebody that firmly believes that he believes something, but it's not entirely clear what that is. And some of his execution in these ideas, these grand ideas that he has, is a little so yeah, but I think as a whole, the spirit of the novel is sort of captured in Jan. They did change a few things. Jan, I mean, spoiler alert, but he doesn't ultimately hire a lawyer for Big at the end. And I think that was done sort of in the interest of time, and also because they didn't want to show the whole prolonged trial sequence at the end of the novel. But yeah, by and large, I think they're pretty similar. Yeah.
Did you come to have a different perspective on these kinds of, you might consider them kind of slacktivist kind of characters? Did you find yourself more sympathetic to them when all was said and done, or maybe more critical of them and maybe some of the harms they do when they have good intentions?
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of Mary, she's someone that's obviously wildly privileged and sort of blinded by her privilege and out of touch, and but I think what's interesting about Susan Larry Parks and Rashid's adaptation is that, she's also someone that's really well-intentioned. She's trying really hard, and I think that because of that maybe it could potentially invite some level of introspection from a white audience, even if their circumstances aren't as heightened, which hers are very heightened. But I don't know, I guess I think it's relatively easy as a white person, and therefore a privileged person in America, to unjustly so, to walk through life without necessarily seeing the effects of systemic racism, because it's just made our lives a lot easier. It's opened doors rather than closed them, and maybe it's easier to, you might notice a door that's closed on you rather than a door that's open for you. So I don't know, I guess I'm hopeful that that the conversations will be had after seeing this film. It's definitely, Rashid isn't somebody that dumbs anything down for anybody, nor is Susan Laurie Parks. So there's a lot to unpack there, and it's very nuanced and subtle, and lots of microaggressions and all of that I think leave you with a lot of questions. Hopefully,
it's a lot of questioning.
And when things go bad in the film, everything kind of blows up in ways that I won't reveal specifically for those who haven't read the novel or seen the film yet. It can feel kind of inevitable in a certain way based on who these characters are, where they come from, and kind of the convergence of all of them. Did you feel it was almost an inevitable kind of sequence of events, or can you imagine a world where these characters kind of converge with different results, maybe better results?
I mean, I'm hopeful that there's a world where these characters can converge with better results, because this kind of went the worst possible way that it could go.
Yeah, could not have gone worse.
But yeah, I mean, I guess, I don't know. I think, while Mary is trying really hard to be inclusive and be a person of the people and all these things, it's actually because she's trying so hard is why it's so uncomfortable, I think, more than anything. And she is, her privilege has left her naive in many regards. But I think a way that is illustrated is that, when you're looking at the big thing that happens, and I won't say whatever, the events that lead up to that night, for Mary, there's not really much at stake. She's doing drugs and possibly having this sexual encounter, but the consequences of doing drugs and having this possibly sexual encounter as a privileged, rich white girl they're pretty much nothing. Like, she might get not able to go to Havana again or whatever it is, and the consequences for Bigger's character um, to engaging with drugs and this possible sexual encounter, whatever it is, he could actually face incarceration, and it's such a wild difference. And she's really insensitive to the position that she's putting him in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I agree wholeheartedly. I think that in this version of the story, I think Big is a little bit more of a fully fleshed out individual. He in the book, my take on it was that it was kind of inevitable. Just it felt like from the beginning, Big kind of had violence on his mind and was just waiting for an opportunity to do an act like he ultimately does. Whereas in this version, I think Big is really has a whole lot more potential, and in no way was this destiny for him. I think that this is really just more of a tragic accident versus some kind of destiny based on his upbringing or circumstance. So yeah, I think that in this particular telling of the story, Big is a much more three-dimensional character, and he is given an opportunity to really get to know Jan and Mary in a way that he doesn't really get to in the book. But I think the short answer is I don't know. I think it's sort of a question that the audience is going to have to answer for themselves.
And you're working with Rashid Johnson, the director of the film, who is coming to this film and to filmmaking in general from a different background. He's done a lot of work in conceptual art. What was it? Did it feel different working with him? Like, did he have a different approach to telling this story and to filming it? Given the different kinds of art he has come from outside of the film world.
Yeah, I mean, I think that like his instincts as just a visual artist translated really, really well to filmmaking, and I think that he kind of took the best parts of the art world, the collaborative process, and brought it to a film set and he did it so seamlessly where like if I didn't know he was a first-time director, I would have no idea, because it kind of seemed almost effortless, and like he was just a very confident and specific filmmaker. And yeah, I think that his art also deals with some of the same themes as this film, and that you'd have to ask him, but I'm sure that was a draw in deciding to come on board as the director.
And what do you both hope people will take away from this film upon seeing it, whether or not they've read the original book? Of course, it's a very complicated look that doesn't answer your questions. It sort of poses more questions than it gives you answers. What do you hope people will take anything in particular away from it?
Honestly, kind of just what you just said. I think that there's a lot of different experiences to be had in watching this film, and I guess that I would be hopeful that people just continue asking questions. And
having those dialogues and just hopefully sparking some kind of introspection and just self-evaluation. I think nobody in this film gets away scot-free. I think everyone is kind of a victim and a villain, and they're all complicit in what happens to Big. And I think that is all the conversations that should be happening, hopefully, when people walk out of the theater.
Well, thank you very much, Nick and Margaret, and good luck with the film when it's released, and good luck at this year's Emmys, where the film will be a contender. And for everybody watching, hit the like and subscribe buttons to see more from our Gold Derby channel, and watch all of our interviews throughout this Emmy season on our Emmy playlist. Thank you guys very much.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.